If you've ever wanted to sell your beautiful children's book in a bookstore, then this video is most definitely for you. Hi there, I'm Eevi, an award-winning children's author and ghostwriter over on eevijones.com and the creator of Children's Book University. I create videos specifically for children's authors, so be sure to subscribe so you don't miss my weekly videos. In this video, I'm going to go over 9 tips on getting your book into a retail store or bookstore. I didn't just want this to be another general video here, but really wanted to dive a little deeper. And that's why many of these tips you may have never heard in this type of context before. But these tips will be incredibly instrumental in helping you be successful in getting your book into bookstores. And the last tip, tip number 9, will even help you think beyond just bookstores. So let's jump right in. Tip number 1. The first tip I want to start out with is all about you and your mindset. If you wish to get your beautiful children's book into a store, it will require some legwork. Because unlike books published by one of the big publishing houses that automatically appear in bookstores all over the country, we will have to conquer bookstores one at a time. And that's absolutely okay. Something I always like to share here is that Sarah Blakely, the creator and CEO of Spanx, did the exact same thing. In the very beginning of her career, she reached out to each and every retail store individually. And look where she is now. So tip number 1 is to be prepared to do the legwork to get your beautiful children's book into a store. Tip number 2. Tip number 2 is something most people have a really hard time with, and that's to be prepared to get some no's. Because you may get a lot of no's at first. What I want you to remember here is this. When a retailer gives us a no to our request to carry our book, this no may have nothing to do with our book. And so we shouldn't take a no personal or as a personal rejection. Instead, I would like to encourage you to remember that all sellers are out to make a profit, right? And because all stores have limited physical space, when a store manager decides to use that space to display a certain product, they want to make sure they choose something where they can be fairly certain that it will sell. So instead of fearing a no, simply adopt that mindset that you will hear no's, but that you won't be afraid to ask anymore. In one of my favorite books I've ever written called The Magic of Choice, My Powers Within, one of my verses reads like this: "Seeking help may be scary, yet you should know that if you don't ever ask, the answer will always be no." You may not be seeking help, but the same principle applies, right? If we don't ever ask, the answer will always be no. So if that's something we wish to do, we have to be willing to ask, and we have to be willing to hear a no. In the end, it truly is all a numbers game. The more we ask, the more likely it is to hear a yes eventually. Tip number 3. Tip number 3 almost goes without saying, but I wanted to include it here anyway. And that is, we want to make sure our book looks as professional as it can possibly be, so that we can offer a quality product, something that looks professional and fits in beautifully genre-wise. Nowadays, the quality of self-published books is highly competitive and compatible with those of traditionally published books. So there are no longer any excuses why a buyer should still be able to visually distinguish between traditionally published books and independently published books. And to help you with things like your cover and your book layout, I have so many other videos here on this channel and so many other resources over on eevijones.com that will help you with this as well. So be sure to make use of these resources. Tip number 4. Tip number 4 is to make it as easy as possible for the retailer to order or get your book. Here we essentially have 2 main options. Option 1 is for the retailer to simply order your book. If the retailer is open to order your book directly from your printer, then you will want to make sure you have the expanded distribution option enabled for your book. Expanded distribution means that your book is available beyond just Amazon, where your book becomes available to other retailers as well. However, before deciding whether or not to enable expanded distribution for your book, please make sure to watch my other video on that. It's really important that you make an informed decision on this, because depending on how you set up your book, this may or may not decrease your royalty rate for your book across the board. So I'll be sure to link to that video on expanded distribution in the description below. If you want to make it as appealing as possible to the retailer, then you will want to make sure to offer a wholesale discount and to also make your book returnable. The book industry is a returnable industry, which means bookstores will expect to be able to return books they don't sell. So a really important side note here is that bookstores don't generally take Amazon KDP publications because they don't allow returns. So that's where an alternative print-on-demand service like Ingram Spark would come in. That allows the setting of a wholesale discount as well as returns. But again, please be sure to watch my other video on expanded distribution to see the advantages and disadvantages. Now, option 2 is something retailers like to do if they have never worked with that author before, or if that retailer isn't just book specific but sells other things as well. And that is to agree to carry your book on consignment. Offering your book on consignment would provide the retailer with a completely risk-free option. All consignment would mean here is that if the book doesn't sell, you would simply take it back. Essentially, the bookstore doesn't have to pay anything up front and takes a percentage if it does sell the book. And if a store does offer consignment sales, then they usually already have a percentage in mind that they like to receive for each book sale. Here, the most cost-effective option for you would be to simply order author copies of your book and then use these copies for your consignment sales. Tip number 5. Tip number 5 is to be prepared. Besides having a few copies of your book with you, as well as current sales numbers and perhaps even won awards, we want to be able to demonstrate how we are going to help the retailer sell our book. Because while it is the bookstore's job to sell your book, it's not their job to market it. Remember that you aren't the only author who is approaching any given bookstore. In fact, many bookstores are inundated with consignment offers, and that's why you want to set yourself apart by showing how you are going to send traffic their way. So by having a solid marketing plan in place, you are demonstrating to the bookstore owner that you are taking initiative and have confidence that your book will sell. So here you could share any marketing ideas you may have had and even suggest to schedule a book signing or a book reading if that's something that you would be interested in doing. That way you show that you are truly invested and don't just leave it up to the store to sell your book. Tip number 6. Tip number 6 is all about pricing. Here we will want to make sure you are offering your book at an appropriate retail price. And to help you with this, be sure to watch my separate video on how to properly price your book. I'll be sure to add the link to the video in the description below. Tip number 7. Tip number 7 is to know exactly how to talk about your book. Here, we will want to be crystal clear on how we are going to pitch our book, and that is the message or purpose of our book. Because if we can get the retailer to care for whatever it is our book is about, then convincing them to carry our book is always so much easier. But how do we get them to care? Well, if the way we describe our book somehow relates to the retailer's audience, then they will always care. So when describing our book, we don't just want to say what most would say, right? And that is that their book is perfect for any audience and any age. Instead, we want to be really specific. For example, if I wanted to talk about my book, My Auntie is a Writer, I could say something like this. You know, I love coming to your bookstore, and so do my 2 sons. It's so important to foster this love and curiosity for books, and that's what inspired me to write my book, My Auntie is a Writer. A sweet story that shares a little girl's excitement and curiosity about books and explores the importance of letting ourselves be inspired by all that surrounds us and what the creative process is all about. And what bookstore manager wouldn't like to hear that? What bookstore owner wouldn't want to foster that kind of curiosity for books in children? So if we can show how our book ties to the store's audience, the bookstore owner is more likely to listen. But now you may be asking, Eevi, what if my book's topic doesn't easily tie to the store's audience? Well, a really great ninja tip here is to show how your book would tie to whatever is currently going on in the world. So perhaps you can tie your book to current hot or political events. Maybe you can tie it to upcoming events such as holidays or an upcoming election, or to the beginning of a new school year. So for example, if your book has a Christmas theme, then pitching that book before Christmas would be ideal. Or if your book is mentioning bullying, then pitching your book at the beginning of a new school year would be a great way to go about this as well. Tip number 8. Tip number 8 is to start small. That is, start locally. In order to get your book into a bookstore, the best method is to focus on local bookstores first. And here's why. Getting into local independent bookstores or local branches of big bookstore chains is easier than approaching a big store's main headquarters. It's easier to reach out to local independent bookstores because those managers usually don't have anyone to answer to, right? And it's also easier to approach the local Barnes & Noble branch manager instead of their national office. Here, the best way would be to simply pick up the phone or go directly to that local store, ask to speak to the store manager, and have that conversation. Starting with local stores also has the added advantage that usually there aren't too many local authors. So coming in as a local author, this would make it even more appealing to local bookstores to support and feature a local author. So be sure to mention that when you are talking to them. And establishing a local presence could, of course, also help you get picked up regionally and then hopefully eventually nationally. Because of your presence in these local bookstores, you're accumulating book sales statistics, something that is really important once you want to pitch your book to the headquarters of a national chain. Because if you can prove that your book sells well locally, your chances of getting picked up to sell your book in other branches of their stores are dramatically increasing. Now, I have found that a really great way to find independent bookstores near you is by using the Indie Store Finder on indiebound.org. It's super easy to do by entering your own zip code. And whatever stores come up for your search, these would be the best ones for you to start reaching out to. And of course, any local Barnes & Noble stores as well. But again, the key here is to start with the local branches. Here I wanted to share another secret ninja tip that is often used in other industries as well, and that's the idea behind secret shopping. Secret shopping is something businesses do all the time, and in order to apply that to you, you would want to send a secret shopper into the store that carries your book to buy a copy of your book. And if your book is not in that particular bookstore as of yet, but you have expanded distribution enabled, you can also go ahead and ask your secret shopper to request and order your book in that bookstore. Either way, this order request or purchase will show the bookstore owner that your book is indeed selling or is indeed in demand. And like I said, this secret shopping is used in other industries as well. To get back to Sarah Blakely, the creator and CEO of Spanx that I mentioned earlier, she did the exact same thing and asked a number of her friends to go to those stores that carried her items and to purchase them to show that there was demand to help kickstart her selling in retail stores. And to tie this in with tip number 5 from earlier, this would also help with the marketing of your book. So once your book is available in the bookstore, you definitely want to get the word out in order to help your own sales. Here, you can get as creative as you'd like. For example, you could take a photo of yourself holding your book in that bookstore or in front of the bookstore and then share the picture on social media, making sure you are actively sharing that bookstore's link as well as their address, and also make sure to tag that bookstore in your post as well. And tip number 9, my final tip, is to go beyond just bookstores. When I made this video, I wanted to make sure to inspire you to go and think beyond just bookstores. Oftentimes, authors only concentrate on getting their books into regular bookstores, right? But there are so many more places we can offer our children's book to. We only have to be creative enough. For example, some other wonderful places you might consider for your children's book are museum gift shops, aquarium gift shops, toy stores, and any specialty shops that tie to the topic of your children's book. Here, the number one tip I can give you is to use your book's topic and its characters creatively to your advantage. For example, if your book is about airplanes and you have a museum on different types of aircraft nearby, perhaps give their gift shop a call, or better yet, go with a copy or two of your book already in tow. Or perhaps your book is about protecting the oceans, then your city's aquarium gift shop might be interested in your book. Or maybe your book is about adopting a dog, then perhaps a local animal shelter or a vet may be interested in offering your book. The possibilities here are truly endless. These are all real life examples. I even had a Children's Book University student who wrote a children's book on breastfeeding and had local lactation consultants start offering her book. So when it comes to figuring out where to sell your beautiful book, be creative. And the added advantage here in offering your book in places like this is that your children's book wouldn't have any other competition in form of other books there. I get asked so often how we can go about getting our beautiful children's book into physical bookstores. Doing so is absolutely possible, especially when we are keeping these 9 tips in mind. Believe in yourself, believe in your beautiful book, and be willing to put yourself out there. I really hope you found this video helpful in getting your creative juices flowing. If you found one of these 9 tips especially surprising or especially helpful, I'd love to hear about it in the comments below. Please give this video a thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't yet. It really encourages me to keep making free videos for you just like this one. Here's to getting your beautiful book into the hands of little ones. Bye!